Good morning, Napa Valley Unitarian Universalists. Happy spring. I am Reverend Dr. Leisa Huyck, and I am your parish minister. And Ann Youngerman is with us this morning as your celebrant. Welcome to our second online service. This one is pieced together from our homes rather than streamed from the sanctuary. And again, we're entering into this completely new experience in a spirit of curiosity and adventure as we find new ways to connect in this time of pandemic. I invite you to orient yourself to your order of service, which is in the text below the video, and the chat, which is on the right side of your screen. All the words you need for the songs will be in the order of service or just below it. And then I also invite you to participate today by lighting a chalice or a candle at home when the time comes. Let us begin with some gathering music. Our first hymn is an old favorite, number 389. It's Gathered Here.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, 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 Spirit draw near.
Our second hymn is number 51, Lady of the Seasons Laughter. It was written by my colleague, Reverend Kendall Gibbons, a humanist minister who responded to a call for hymns with feminine imagery for the divine. So this is number 51. It may not be as familiar to you, but that's all right. Fear not, because this is a tune that most of us, will have heard.
Lady of the seasons' laughter, in the summer's warmth be near. When the winter follows after, teach our spirits not to fear. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning year. Sister of the evening starlight, in the falling shadows stay, here among us till the far light of tomorrow's dawning ray. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning day. Mother of the generations, in whose love all life is worth, everlasting celebrations bring our labor safe to birth. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning earth. Goddess of all time's progression, stand with us when we engage, hands and hearts to end oppression, writing history's fairer page. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning age.
You are welcome here if you're full to the brim with joy, and you are welcome if your heart is full of nothing but pain.
You are welcome here if you are deeply afraid of what is coming, and you are welcome if you are confident that all will be well.
You are welcome if you cannot get a moment's peace with your entire family underfoot, and you are welcome if you are isolated and deeply lonely.
You are welcome here, whatever the color of your skin, whomever you love, whether or not your gender matches your sex, whatever your belief about God or non-God, wherever you are from, you are welcome here.
Whoever you are and whatever your need, you are welcome here. We gather in the presence of all that is most holy. The clear blue sky, the bright sun, the sparkling waters, the round green hills, the love that moves in and among us. We gather in search of meaning and inspiration, in search of hope and healing. We gather to share our joys and our sorrows and to mark the passing of our years. We gather to heed the call of love to compassionate action. All this month, we've been gathering to ponder the question, what does it mean to be a people of wisdom? Today, we'll be thinking about what two of the world's wisdom traditions have to teach us about a topic that's very hard for us to talk about in polite conversation. Stay tuned to find out what that topic is. And in the meantime, let us bring our whole selves to this place and let us worship together. Now is the time for centering through music.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there?
Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere?
Have you ever felt like you could disappear?
Like you could fall, no one would hear.
Well, let that lonely feeling wash away.
Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand,
You can reach out your hand.
And oh, someone will come running, and I know they'll take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through,
When you need a friend to carry you,
and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in,
'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again.
lift your head and look around. You will be found. 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 There's a place where we don't have to feel unknown.
Every time that you called out,
You're a little less alone.
crashing through.
When you need someone to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. The sun comes streaming in, you'll reach up and rise again. If you only look around, you will be found. You will be found. You will be
You will be found.
Every Sunday, we join Unitarian Universalists all over the world in the lighting of the chalice, the symbol of our faith. You are invited to light your chalice or candle at home now and join me in saying our lighting words by Rebecca Parker. With the kindling of this flame, we reaffirm our commitment to accept life's gifts with grace and gratitude and use them to bless the world in the spirit of love. Now, please join in singing hymn number 100, Peace Like a River.
Peace like a river, I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got determination, I've got determination, I've got determination in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my
Who wants to hear a story? Well, come on over. Hi, everyone. How's it going now that you have to stay home so much? I miss seeing you in person, but I'm glad you're here. I'm imagining that I'm seeing Jay and Lily and Kai and Violet and Finn and Poppy and Iggy and her best friend and Elise and Bee and Gavin and Paxton and Trajan and Hadrian. And I'm imagining I see the older kids too, Omri and Atticus, and maybe even Percy and Kat and RJ. Well, this is a story called The Kid Who Loved to Sing, and it is a true story. It just happened last week. Once upon a time, there was a kid who loved to sing. They loved to sing first thing in the morning and all through the day at school. And sometimes their teacher got mad at them for all that singing when they were supposed to be doing other things. They loved to sing in the afternoon after they got home from school. They loved to sing at dinner time. They loved to sing in the bath or the shower, and they loved to sing themselves to sleep. Well, their parents noticed how much they loved to sing, because who wouldn't notice that, and signed them up for a children's choir. Do you know what a choir is? Well, I know the older kids do because many of them are actually in choirs. A choir is a group of people who love to sing together and make beautiful music. So this kid joined the Boston Children's Choir and had so much fun learning all kinds of new songs and being with other people who love to sing. And it was just their favorite thing to do, to go to choir and sing. And they gave performances too, and people loved to hear them. Well, last week, their parents told them, I am so sorry, but we are not going to be able to take you to choir today, or maybe for a long time, because we all have to stay home. There's this virus going around called the coronavirus, and in order to keep as many people well as possible, everyone has to stay home. Well, that kid who loved to sing was very sad because they missed their friends and they missed singing with their friends. They felt very lonesome and they wished they could go back, but they couldn't. But then the choir leader had a really good idea. And the choir leader called up all the parents and said, hey, what if we do a virtual choir? And everyone was happy. And this is what happened.
There is a sound that's calling me, a sound that brings us all together. There is a way that we can change. One by one we will join as you hear our voice. We sing the hope of tomorrow. Our time, this is our goal. We sing as we stand together, voices calling out for change. We're gonna stand for peace. We're gonna sing for joy. We will unite for hope and for freedom. We sing the hope of tomorrow. Our time, this is our call. We sing as we stand together, voices calling out for change. Sing the hope of tomorrow. Our time, this is our call. We sing as we stand together, voices calling out. Hear us calling out. We sing the hope of tomorrow, voices calling out for change.
Wow, there are so many ways to stay connected even when we have to be apart. I hope you find some of those ways. We can even sing together. And that is the end of that story. Or is it just the beginning? Let's sing these shining ones out with their special song, This Little Light of Mine, number 118. this little light of mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
I invite you now into a moment of receptivity and reflection as we share the joys and sorrows of this community. We make sacred the milestones of our lives when we share them with each other. Please share them on the chat. In addition to those that have been shared, let us hold in our hearts all those milestones that are too tender to share.
When we share our sorrows and our joys, we weave a web of love and care that lifts and supports us all. Now, let's go deeper. I invite you to get comfortable in your chair, to pull your hands off the keyboard if that's where they've been, to place both feet on the floor and feel your connection to the earth right through the floor to the living soil beneath. Pull your shoulders up to your ears and then drop them. Receive a breath in and then out. A second breath in and then out. A third breath in and then out. Now hear these words. Spirit of life, great immensity of love that birthed the stars and washes through our bodies with every beat of our hearts. How thankful we are that in this time of uncertainty and dread, there is spring. There is bright blue sky with fleecy white clouds, achingly green grass, and bright orange poppies. Trees in extravagant bloom, profligate with their petals, casting them onto the breeze. There are finches and robins and wrens singing, and crows strutting along the ground and thieving from yards to make their nests. Children released from school run everywhere, only to stop suddenly and crouch over a hole, wondering who lives there and how deeply inside they tunnel. Oh, thank all that is holy for the beauty of spring, for otherwise we might run mad, some completely confined and desperately alone, some unable to get a moment's respite from the unending demands of family. Perhaps the worst at this moment is the not knowing. What will happen? We do not know. Will people we love die? We do not know. Will we have enough money to live? We do not know. We have entered the valley of the shadow of death, and there are many things we cannot know. But here is something we can know. We are held in love always, no matter what happens. Like a mother holds a beloved child, so are we held, cradled in the arms of this starry universe, interbeing with all that is. May we relax into this knowing and look with clear and loving eyes at the beautiful springtime all around us. Amen. Blessed be. Now let us enter together into a time of silence.
Our reading this morning comes from Lynn Unger, who used to be our minister here back when we were UUFNB rather than NVUU. The title is Toilet Paper. How many rolls of toilet paper will make you safe? How many bottles of Purell? How much peanut butter or pasta, bread or beer? How much money will make you secure? $10,000? A million? $1 billion in a yacht? At what point do you say, I have what I need? Ask the Buddha. He says, it is the nature of all things to change. It is the nature of all things to suffer. It is the nature of all beings to die. How many rules will make you safe? Wouldn't it be better if you, yourself, were multi-layered and soft and strong?
Good morning. I'm David Lindsay, your treasurer. I'd like to make a couple of announcements regarding next year's budget and this year's pledge drive. But first, I was remiss in last week's announcement. I want to thank Jeff Lelis for his work as treasurer this year. It's a time-consuming job, and to take it on with a full-time job and a young family was truly heroic. So I look forward to seeing Jeff back here in our Sunday meetings. COVID-19 has led to many changes in the things we do, or at least how we do them, but we can adapt. This is the time of year when we normally present our dream budget to the congregation in an after-service presentation. Since we can't do that in the normal way, we will soon be releasing a YouTube video that provides a presentation of the budget with narration. You can leave comments and questions and they will be addressed, or you can email me or call me directly with your questions. For the stewardship drive, we explained last week that our visiting stewards will become virtual visiting stewards. Everyone will receive a call from one of the stewards requesting a time to set up a 30-minute phone call or Zoom or Skype chat. By the time you receive the call, you will have received the Stewardship Drive packet that includes information about the budget, volunteer opportunities within NVUU, and also your pledge card. I hope you will be able to make time for a conversation about NVUU with one of the stewards. They are all great people to talk to. When thinking about your pledge amount, please consider how important this community is to you and to your fellow congregants. We are all in this together. Making a significant financial contributions is one of the main ways we can express our love and support for this community. Thanks.
How many of you would ask your friends in church how much money they have or how much their annual income is, how many of you would be comfortable answering? Why do you think that is? Why is money the one subject that people won't talk about in polite conversation? Even in church, even in this kind of church, where we'll talk about sex and politics and certainly religion, can we talk openly with each other about money? Not just in the abstract, as in it's wrong for billionaires to pay no taxes, but in the particulars, such as how much each person earns for the job they do or used to do. Why is that? Well, as you might guess, I have a few thoughts on this. Way too many to share in just one sermon, so we'll come back to this on other occasions, but we can make a start today. It might seem strange to talk about money now, of all times, in the midst of what seems to be an apocalypse of sorts, but since it is money and the tendency to hoard it that has brought us to this pass, it actually probably is a very good idea. How many of you were brought up hearing the teachings of Jesus about money? He said several relevant things. A rich man came to him once and asked how he could get close to God. Jesus said, "You cannot serve both God and money, so you should sell your possessions and come with me." Jesus later commented that it is harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. When I was a child, I tried as hard as I could to follow the teachings of Jesus. In this case, it was a little difficult because in my home, my parents were always saying there was not enough money. There wasn't enough to do any of the things my sister and I wanted to do or buy the things that we wanted to buy. If we wanted to have the things our friends had, like a certain kind of shoes, we had to earn the money ourselves. When we got to a certain age, it was vitally important that we have the same shoes as our friends. So we started a cleaning business. We made index cards that said, "We do windows," and took them all around the neighborhood and dropped them off. We got a fair amount of business, and so we were able to buy our shoes and some records too. Not until I was an adult did I realize that our family was not poor. We lived in the biggest house on the block with a swimming pool and a little citrus orchard. We were just cash poor because all the money went into paying the mortgage. But at an early age, I internalized my parents' anxiety about money, along with the competing messages from my religion and my culture. I mashed that all up together and came up with a typical American understanding of money, which goes something like this. Money is the most important thing in this world. It determines your place in life and your worthiness of respect. It's something to be highly anxious about. There will never be enough money. Only if you have a lot of money will you have the things you want and be respected and treated well. So you have to work hard to earn money. But truly good people do not care about money. They should not have money or know anything about money. So money is something we do not openly talk about. If you talk about it, that means you care about it too much, which is bad. Or people will be able to tell whether you're a good or bad person depending on how much money you have. Does that sound a little conflicted? Does it sound familiar? It's a child's understanding of the messages coming at her from the lives of adults. But most people, including me, are still operating from the messages we received as children about money. Most of my colleagues in ministry certainly are, and most of us have a long history of working so hard that we endanger our health in service professions where we get paid very little. Why? One word: love. Ministry is my way of living love in this world. I am called and I must go. I can do no other. But why should I not get paid well, or at least fairly, for work that is a labor of love? Why should Jeff Bezos rake in $9 million per hour to ship people all the goods they could never want, while I and almost every other minister and teacher I know gets about $30 an hour to use expensively acquired skills to care for people we dearly love? Why should my son-in-law, an attorney, earn the same amount at the beginning of his career as my husband, a scientist, earned at the end of his? What is this bizarre inequality of value all about? What is the deal with money? Why do some people feel the need to hoard it to the point where they deeply harm all life on the planet, the larger body of which they are part, thereby harming themselves? Money affects every aspect of our lives. It is important spiritually, psychologically, socially, politically, and ecologically. We need to be able to talk about it in church. Good people should and do care about money, what it is, what it symbolizes, what it can do, and how we relate to it. So, what is money? There are a lot of definitions, but my favorite comes from one of the great ecologists of the 20th century, Howard Odum. Actually, he's considered one of the founding fathers of ecology. He said that money is congealed energy. What do you think about that? It means we exchange money for having things happen. Work gets done, or food gets grown and put into our grocery bag. I like this definition because it's simple and straightforward. What's not straightforward is what money symbolizes. I suspect it symbolizes different things for different people, depending on what you learned about money as a child. So I want to delve a little into what it symbolizes at the macro level, as economists say, or the societal level. David Loy, a Buddhist philosopher, believes that money has taken the place of God in our largely post-Christian society. In other words, money is our ultimate concern, what we think about the most, care about the most, spend the most time trying to get close to. As a Buddhist, Loy understands human beings to be fundamentally anxious. In other words, people feel separate and alone, at the mercy of an uncertain world. We know we're alive and we're afraid to die. We're afraid of non-being. We also realize that the world is not what it ought to be, and we feel fear and pain about that. We live in a state of lack. In a secular society where people have no real religion, there's no way to address the fundamental anxiety that comes with being human. Money, Loy says, becomes that thing we think will make us feel better. It becomes our God, our idol. We think that when we have money and the things we can buy with it, we'll feel real and whole. But as the Buddha recognized 2,500 years ago, the problem is that once our basic needs are met, having more money and stuff doesn't make us feel better. Instead, we worry over the money and the stuff we have and feel more anxiety, which we try to assuage with even more stuff. We get hooked. That's why we have billionaires who hoard so much money that they harm the whole world, which in turn comes back and harms them. Did you know that if you had $1 billion and spent $1,000 a day, it would take you 2,740 years to spend all of it? Why do we even allow people to hoard so much money that they could never spend it all? The Buddha taught that the key to relieving our anxiety, that suffering inherent in the human condition, is not in having more money or more stuff. These cannot make us feel whole. The key is instead in understanding that our concept of a self alone and separate is an illusion. The reality is interbeing. The reality is that we are interwoven into the fabric of the whole cosmos. When we understand this, our small, fearful self can die. It dies by expanding into the vast, interdependent, ever-changing whole where there is no fear. And when we no longer experience fear, we don't need to keep consuming more and more to assuage it. We can just be. This is what Jesus was referring to when he spoke of entering the kingdom of heaven. He wasn't talking about giving away your possessions so you would literally go to heaven after you literally died. He was talking about the heaven that is possible on earth when people live from love rather than fear, when they live in a sense of abundance rather than scarcity. And he wasn't talking about choosing between being good and having money. He was talking about choosing serving love and serving money, being hooked by it. He said, "The kingdom of heaven is among you, if only you have eyes to see it." He taught his followers to release their attachment to money and share everything they had, that all might be fed and clothed and housed and cared for. The earliest Christians believed that this ushered in paradise here and now. Jesus said, "I came that they might have life and have it in abundance." Love, abundance. What might it be like to live from love and not fear? What might it be like to live from abundance and not scarcity? What might it be like to know that we are enough? We have enough. Love is all around us, holding us in every moment. Well, it would be like being Unitarian Universalists at our very best. This is the promise of our faith, that all of us have inherent worth and dignity, that all are equally loved and equally lovable. We are all enough. We are all worthy, and we are all part of an interdependent cosmos in which the health of each precious one depends upon the health of the whole, and the health of the whole depends upon the health of each precious one. If this is what our faith teaches, then how might we understand money? How might we relate to it? Well, once we're no longer afraid and trying to use money to relieve our fear, we can look at it dispassionately. We can see it for what it is, a tool, an instrument, not something to elevate as being of supreme worth, not something to be afraid of or avoid, but something to use for good, energy to put into the systems we inhabit. We can begin to follow money trails. Who has a lot of money and why? Who has very little and why? What are the economic and political and social structures that create this distribution of wealth? Whom do they serve? Where does my money come from? How has it come to me? How and where will I spend it? What are the impacts of my choices? Are the ways in which I spend and invest in harmony with my deepest values? Asking these kinds of questions is deep spiritual work. It is religious work. Living into the answers is even more so. This is why we need to be able to speak openly about money in church. If a religious community concerns itself with both the well-being of the whole person and the well-being of the whole interdependent web of life, then something as important as money has got to be right out there in the open. We can be a people who live from a place of love, not fear. We can be a people who live from a place of abundance, not scarcity, love, and abundance. To get there, we need to release the fear and anxiety that we feel about money. Talking about it openly is an important first step. Let us take that step together toward the transformation that we seek. May it be so. Blessed be.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. That is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This congregation depends entirely upon the generosity of its members and friends. All that we give in time, talent, and treasure is what sustains this community and makes it not just a sanctuary for us to return to for spiritual nourishment, but an oasis from which we can go into the world carrying the waters of life. With today's offering, let us continue practicing generosity. You can go to the church website at nvuu.org and click on the donate button to the lower left. Or you can mail a check to NVUU 1625 Salvador Avenue, Napa, California 94558. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Lord is my shepherd. I have all I need. She makes me lie down in green meadows, beside the still waters she will lead. She restores my soul. She rights my wrongs. She leads me in a path of good things and fills my heart with songs. Even though I walk through a dark and dreary land, there is nothing that can shake me. She has said she won't forsake me. I'm in her hand. She sets a table before me in the presence of my foes. She anoints my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely This song says, no matter who you are, no matter where you go in your life, at some point you're gonna need somebody to stand by you. Oh yeah, oh my darling, stand by me. No matter who you are, no matter where you go in life, you gon' need somebody to stand by you. No matter how much money you got, all the friends you got, you gon' need somebody to stand by you.
When the night has come and the land is dark and that moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed one tear. Just as long as your people come and stand by me.
Darling, darling, stand by me.
Oh, stand by me.
Oh, stand by. Come on, stand by me. Yeah. Oh, when that sky that we look upon, when she tumble and fall,
Thank you. Thank you.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Now, people of this beloved community, each of you is a precious member of the larger body of life. And as my friend Reverend Teresa Inez Soto says, all of us need all of us to make it. Do all you can to keep yourself well so the larger body can stay well. Go forth from this time knowing how greatly you are loved. Go shining. Blessed be.